What's going on, man? Look, it's Thursday, December 2nd, kind of middle of the day. I was cleaning up some stuff. I was gonna just do working on some content, working on some ideas, looking at some t-shirt ideas, sharing stuff. Figured I'd just hang out and do an AMA over here. And I might just do it on Omegle. I enjoy these Omegle chats a good bit. So that's fun. I haven't been streaming the stocks lately because, well, I just don't have any money to put into them. But I have been watching them, and holy balls, dude! Yikes to the stock market right now. It is an absolute nightmare. The SPY is at 456, Lucid's at 47. The stocks are getting smashed. Boeing's at 197. Way below 200. Everything's just getting wrecked. Look at that freaking Grab. I always remember following this guy who was following the Grab stock. $8. Down 20%. Hut, $10. Where's my Wish crew at? Where are the guys who were watching Wish? Holy yikes. Dude, everything is getting absolutely smashed. Baba, 121. What? Holy shit. That's crazy. We were buying Baba 175 calls not that long ago, and now it's $120. I guess the market correction is here. Happy December. There goes all your money in the stock market. Wow, if you're just an equity investor, get out. It is gross. That's what I'm saying. But I want to do some AMAs. It reminded me here to have a peek over here because I remember that I used to watch this. Oh my God, look at all these Novavax down so much. Everything is just getting so wrecked. And my Kroger's up. Snowflake's up. Kroger's up. What's running? What's a good momentum play that we can look at right now? Is there anything that's just like running like crazy? You can snipe a few percent in. Really? There's some stuff up there, but how wild is that? Could throw some money out of Cash App or something into something that might move a little bit. Snowflake at 12% up on the day. That's huge on Snowflake, you know? Where does it go from there? Snowflake, I think it's just everything's just going to get wrecked. It's going to get wrecked hard. Honestly, I don't even think it's like I watch Meet Kevin. He's like, I don't even think it's a buy the dip opportunity. I think it's literally just everything's getting wrecked opportunity. Matterport down 10%. It's freaking nuts. All right, let's see what we can find. Omegle. And we're gonna see what comes of it. I'm gonna change my background for this because why not? It's more fun. I think it's more fun. Maybe I'll work on a new background for my show. Yeah, I like this. It's more fun. All right. Let's see what we can find here. I'm going to pull it up on this side so I can watch it. Omegle, talk to strangers. I have to add their, hold on, let's add their audio input here. So that we can hear some folks, and maybe we'll come up with something interesting. Maybe we'll find some. I've had some pretty good conversations lately. I'm not gonna lie. I've really enjoyed it. And if you want to join the chat, just type something in the chat box over there. Ask me anything. That's what we're doing. I'm watching other stuff. I'm watching the news. I'm watching whatever. We're just gonna have a little fun in the middle of the day while working on other stuff. Let's see what we come across.
Yo,
what's up?
I'm on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube. You're not on YouTube.
I'm not on YouTube, so they can't see me right now.
No one can see you or none of that shit. I don't even have your audio on because people on here are nuts. Unless you're cool, then I can put your audio on, but you know, I don't stream.
So where do you stand politically?
Where do I stand politically?
Yeah.
I stand outside of the two-party system.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to associate with either of those fucking things. People are crazy. But I think that we need to come to a time in society where we need to make decisions that are not tribalistic based.
What's your YouTube channel?
Planet Podcast.
Planet
Podcast. I do all kinds of stuff, man. Videos on like stocks, investing, comedy,
really?
Life, entrepreneurship. I run a t-shirt business. I do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I do. And right now I'm just kind of hanging out.
You talk about Marvel?
Dude, Marvel. Well, not really Marvel, but that's the wrong one. You know,
yeah, it might be.
TV shows, movies, music, man. Just stuff that I'm interested in, mostly.
Yo.
Hello.
Hello. What's up? So you a typer? I can't deal with the typers. It takes too long to have a conversation with someone who has to type. Brother is sleeping. All right, well, ask me anything. I will answer whatever it is that you ask. I mean, you laughed at your own joke, so let's see it. How is your life going? Okay, that's a solid question. Realistic answer, life is an absolute shit show right now. I am 38. I've been self-employed since I was about 22 years old. I ran a business for 18 years that I closed in October and made a giant life transition. YOLO'd a lot of money in the stock market, lost a lot of money in the stock market. And you know, just trying to figure out, you know, a different way of life than used to. I have a complicated relationship with a woman. We dated for like about a year and a half, and it never really ended bad. I mean, look, man, she's here like all the time. We're just not together. We're just, I don't know. It's complicated, I guess. So, but yeah, I've got 2 kids, and you know, we're just trying to survive, man. I'm a positive person, so we just keep it moving forward. I think that you can do anything you really set your mind to if you want to put in the work. If you're interested in that. But you know, it's tough, man. Ups and downs. Been depressed, been highs and lows, both sides of the spectrum, man. You know, that's just life. All right, buddy. Be good. What's up? Oh, she looked like she was an artist. Bummer. What's up? Nope. Dude, I don't know what people are really looking for here. This dude's sleeping. COVID, all right. Nope. I think it's a simulated webcam. People don't like simulated webcams. I think that's really what gets them here. What's up, champ?
Hello.
How are you doing?
YouTuber? You're a YouTuber?
I'm just a lifer, man. I'm
You're
not
live?
like, yeah, just life, man.
Okay, so what's your channel name?
Planet Podcast is the channel name. It's this one right here.
Okay.
But
So
currently, yeah, I talk about all kinds of stuff. Currently, nobody can hear or see you. Unless you are okay with talking to me, then I won't put your audio on if you don't want to talk to me. That's cool.
Okay. So currently it's off.
Yes.
So you are from which country?
I am from the United States of Joe Biden.
Okay. Okay. I'm from India.
Okay. I spoke with a guy from India yesterday for about an hour, actually, on here. We had a pretty fun conversation. It was a lot of fun. He was from India.
Oh, okay. So you talk about only politics or every type of stuff?
All kinds of stuff, man. Not just politics, but just how the world is such a crazy time to be alive. I mean, outside the political realm, there's so many other things happening in the world around us that almost don't even seem real. You know, like you just look across the planet and you can find so many different things happening that don't even seem like they'd be in the same time, you know, in history. But I talk about
Okay.
all kinds of stuff. I'm an entrepreneur, so I run a t-shirt brand company, print my own apparel. I was in the motorcycle industry for 18 years. I've been in the restaurant business. I've done a lot of different jobs. I've a lot of different experiences.
So
So I talk about
currently
all
what
kinds of stuff.
are you doing?
Currently, I do sell custom t-shirts and apparel. I do make videos for YouTube. I don't really make much money off of YouTube. I'm not like a famous YouTuber. I do, you know, flipping of goods and stuff, buying and selling stuff. I traded stocks and investments. Done a lot of stuff, man.
Okay. So you like politics or just means?
I do like discussing it. I'm not like a change my mind kind of political person because I feel like the realm of politics that at least surround me in this country is an epic nightmare of bullshit. But
So
it's
do you have any ideology?
interesting.
Any political ideology you have?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm more of like, I guess you people would say I'm more of a centrist. I like to just kind of look at all of it and then let's look at all the facts. I'm not just going to agree with somebody because they're leaning one direction. Like, okay, well, that's just, you know, I'm friends with these people. I don't go that route, like the tribalism that we see in politics. So I feel like in our country here, since it's not that old of a country, right? That's part of our issue is that we're holding on to ideology that was established in a different world, right? Does you follow me? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, in 1700s, it's a different world. In the 1800s, it's not the same world that we live in, but we're holding on to these concepts and ideas and we're trying to impose them on the future, and it's not working out well. It's not going great. Ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
So
what's the political climate like in India,
it's what we tell fascism,
right?
which we had in Germany in 1930s. It's similar to that. You might have heard about the farmers' protest going on here since a year.
Right.
So yeah, it's not good since last 2 years.
So the guy I talked to yesterday, I asked him about violence. Is there a lot of violence in India? And he said there really wasn't much violence that occurs because, like here, people obviously there's like more guns than people in America.
Yeah.
So everyone has access. Like I don't have a gun, but I could probably go out and get a gun today.
Yeah.
Like not even through like the proper channels. Like I'm not talking about going and getting like a permit. Like I could probably post something on Facebook and end up with a gun by the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
and we're surrounded by constant chaos here, it seems like. And he said that, you know, India didn't really have it. He said a lot of the violence was more protest related into like
no,
mob related.
Violence is here in some means 1 or 2 states. It's every day. Okay. But apart from that, here is not that violence. But yeah, the government is not good here.
Okay. Well,
The people are suffering basically.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in India. The population is unreal over there. I don't.
Yeah,
It's
very
so
much.
crazy. You know what is I'm assuming you've lived there your whole life. What's it?
What?
I said, I assume you've lived there your whole life.
Yeah.
You've grown up there.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about moving from India somewhere else?
No, I actually have not thought. I want to stay here only. And now I am become very much politically means conscious since the last 1 year. So
Okay.
I want to stay here.
Yeah, I think that happened to a lot of people globally. That the younger crowd, I don't know how old you are, I'm going to assume under 35, but I'm going to say like the younger demographic is becoming more politically aware. And maybe it's because it's the information is thrown right in front of us constantly. Like it's hard to avoid it. You know,
Yeah,
20
means
years ago,
the
you didn't,
social media is filled with all
right.
the political stuff. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, you had to turn on the TV at 6 o'clock at night and watch the news to wait for the political segment to come on. And now it's constantly available and they're aware of it. And the politicians are honestly targeting the younger demographics to get the votes and get them more
Yeah, means
active,
yeah.
you know. So it's interesting. There's a lot more people that are politically active, I think, now than ever before, for sure. Whether that's
Yeah,
good or bad, I don't know.
but in India means there are so many people, especially the middle class people who are apolitical, who have nothing to do with politics. They are
Right,
just concerned about their life, their family, their work. Nothing much political.
right. I get that. I get that. Do you think that there's a younger generation of people in India that want to change the way the country runs in the future?
No. I was uh, thinking about this. Means I was like, this, yeah, this young generation, as they are more and more people are getting means education. That's then it can change. But now, after seeing the original situation, I don't think so. And I think that the educated ones are more dangerous than the illiterate ones. Okay,
Okay.
so and they are going and they are becoming more and more means full of hatred against the minorities or against all that stuff. So
I
it's
see.
not it's not that good actually the next 10, 20 years. Yeah, means the means a good type of movement is starting. People are getting conscious, but it's very slow
Yeah. I
in
feel like
compared.
that's the same here. Like people want to make a change, but the problem is that I feel like we're good 40 years away from the change. And the reason I say that is because the people that are in our government are so old. They're just old people and they've been around so
Same here
long,
also.
right?
Same here.
So you're going to have to get younger people in there that
Yeah.
have progressive and newer ideas. And to get enough of them in there, it's just going to take forever. You know, we're talking like someone now who's 30 might run for office when they're 40, might get into office and when they're 40. It might take them 10 years. And then by the time they're actually able to make policy that affects anything, that's going to be years down the road. So I feel like it's kind of it's going to take a long time. I don't think like it's going to be fast in any regard because the people that are in charge making all these decisions, they're not going away. Like there's no one running opposite them except for other old people with the same
Yeah,
fucked up ideas.
here also is the same. Means most of the member of parliaments are of means above 50 years and above 55. So here's also the same because it's basically means they just differ on one or two things, but mostly their ideology, their beliefs are the same. Means of all
Right.
the past things, so they are just the same. And I also know that some of the countries which are progressing actually means whose government are being praised, like Canada or New Zealand, they are filled with younger people. Okay,
Yes.
like the CM of Canada is also a young man, a young person. So that's the case, and also women should be included more and more in the parliament. So
Right.
yeah, this
Yeah, I
is
mean, it kind of feels like we're going to at the rate we're going, we're constantly chasing our tail. We're constantly living in the past, right? Because these people are older and they're not
yeah. I mean,
willing to change as fast as society is currently changing.
India it has gone, I think, 100 or 150 years back. in the current time. All the people, even the younger generation, are going backwards. Okay, means before I think 5 years, not much people were more interested in religion or caste or like that. But now time has changed. People are getting more into religion stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, that's
What
been
would
done
you
by the
say is the most popular industry in India as far as like career wise goes? Like, what's the most
tech,
popular
tech,
industry? Tech?
technology. Yeah.
Is it like pushed heavily amongst the younger generation of
Yeah,
kids?
means the parents here wants that their children become an engineer or a doctor. Okay, they don't find any other profession good. They only find engineering and doctorate good.
Really?
So that's a very big problem here.
Huh.
Means yeah, there are some of the good people also who are excellent in tech. Okay, you must have seen that many of the American means companies have Indian CEOs. Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
but but like this Parag Agarwal of Twitter is also an Indian origin. But the thing is that so many engineers have become here. Okay, everyone is doing engineering. So and not much concern is on other industries like I mean biotechnology or something like that. So yeah, we have so many engineers here.
Everyone's engineer.
Or
And I'd ask that because we do have, the CEO of Google is, I believe he's Indian. We just
Pichai
had,
Nadella or are Indian
yeah, and you just
only.
had the guy step up in Twitter there. He's going to be the CEO of
Yeah,
Twitter now. And,
yeah,
and it is. In America, the Indian culture is synonymous with technology and healthcare. Like,
yeah,
that's it. They're always in the healthcare field or
yeah.
somewhere
I
in
was
tech.
I was talking on Omegle with an American. He was telling that actually the tech field here is very much lacking. I mean, there are not many USA engineers, but
I would
Indians have
agree.
tech. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Indians and many of them are also telling that they have Indian doctors also. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing because see, if they will stay here, then they will not get good package or good job environment. So that's why they just go to America or any other countries.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in America, our education system is still having a hard time, like breaking out of the ways. Like when I grew up, you went to school, and if you did decent in school, you could go to college, and if you did good in college, you pick a career. And if you didn't do great in school, they're like, "Listen, you're not going to college. You're gonna
Yeah,
pick pick a
that's the
business. You're
same.
gonna pick a shit
That
job."
that's the same in India
You
also. Means
know.
it means basically they are following a same pattern. Okay, means you have to go to school. In school, you have to everyone has to study the same thing for
Right.
15 years. Then you have to select a career, and career should also be something like engineering or medical. And then you have to go for a 9 to 5 job. And if any person, any child tries to break this barrier, then they are called as rebel, as they are mad, and they are just wasting
Right.
their parents' money and what they will do. So
And the
yeah,
real
it's
the realistic aspect of it is like there's a billion jobs out there. You can go do anything, and
yeah, yeah,
you know,
we can do anything, but yeah,
but we're
means
not told
even
that. We're not telling our youth that. And I mean, I think that there are people out there telling the youth that, but it's not the people who see them every day in the scholastic environment. They're not out there teachers going, "Yeah, you know what, John? That was funny. You should look at being a comedian. You'd be a good comedian." They're like, "No, you need to shut the fuck up and sit down. No one's talking to you. You need to do your damn homework." you know.
yeah, means
But the
uh,
reality is that some people would be great comedians, but we're not telling our kids that they can be these things in school. We're telling them they got
I
to
mean,
follow a path.
means here the parents even think about the child's future before their birth only. That yeah, my because I
Right.
was not able to become a doctor, so my child will become a doctor. So this is a great problem here.
Yeah, I think my on again, off again, whatever girlfriend, she kind of falls into that category because she's an artist, but her parents always wanted her to be in art and draw and put her on all these camps, and she is constantly, surrounded by it, and she's a great artist. And then, well, you can't be an artist for a career, so you go be a graphic designer. So they put her in school for that. She went to college to be a graphic designer, got out, got a job as a graphic designer, and she realizes like they don't make a lot of money. This is all I've done. I was told to do this
Yeah,
by my
my
parents, but
my also the friends and also the people I know who are doing means the stuff which is away from engineering and medical, they're actually happy. Okay,
right,
means they have fought with their parents. They some one is a journalist, one is a means that basketball player. Okay, so they are following their means passion and they're happy. Okay,
yeah.
maybe they have fought with their parents. Okay, the parents are sad, but yeah, they themselves are happy. They're making their own money and they are staying away from the home and they're happy.
You know, I thought about this the other day because I keep seeing this pop up on like social media, which is the new rich, is what they call it. And it's people who are not out there chasing mansions and Ferraris and wealth. They're just out there living life, like enjoying life and traveling and seeing the world. And I think about all these places that we see online, and you see people like, you know, waterfalls and mountains and just gorgeous places. And I think to myself, like 99.9% of people will never in their lifetime ever see that place. They'll never go there, right? We won't go there. We won't get to explore most of things. We don't actually get to live our life because we're raised to sell our life for pennies on the dollar all day, every day. And we get like 1 or 2 days a week where you might get to do something for yourself, but we're not living life. We're just
Yeah.
existing and trying not to die. And I feel like people out there that are doing what they love to do, they might not be rich. They might not be, you know, the most stable of environment. They're happy. They're just happy.
No, with what I have found is that either you can be means great and successful in life, or you can be mentally happy and you can roam about in the world, discover new things, new food. You can either do one of these things. You can't be super rich and you can't be mentally perfectly all right. So it's not possible. And actually, I think that this one life is so less to discover all the great things which happens in the world. Even our own country is so big, and I only have to visit so many places. It's left.
Right.
But yeah, the parents and all the people think that only this 9 to 5 job and this is only life. So yeah,
Yeah. It's wild. I think that's going to change. I think one thing that we've learned in the last 2 years is that people, you know, they don't need this dumb job. Like they're figuring out ways to make money online and not work as much and make a lot more. But some people are making crazy amounts of money doing damn near nothing. You know, it's like, and they're out there just living up their best life and they're telling people online, you can do this. Like, you can do this. And yeah, you know what? It's not, you're not going to be successful immediately, but 2 years from now, you keep doing it, you can quit that dumb job and you can go do what you love to do. But a lot of people won't
yeah,
take the risk. You know, they're scared to take the risk and you know, step off that ledge. But people are doing it. And I think we're going
yeah,
to see a lot more people go down that road, especially with this entire digital craze that's happening. That is so, I mean, it's making so many people rich, right? And NFTs somehow are making people millionaires. Crypto's making people millionaires. Freaking affiliate marketing is making people millionaires. Like all of these things are turning average Joes. Ah, we lost them into millionaires. That's a bummer. It was fun. Let's see if we find somebody funny. Time is it 2 o'clock? Man,
Hey,
what's up?
how's it going, man?
Not too bad. You got a mask on inside. What are you doing?
Um, well, I happen to live in a country where COVID is still a big deal, and I just left it on basically.
Okay. What country do you live in that's a big deal?
Well, technically I am American, but I've been in India for a little while now.
Okay, so you're in
I'm half
India
I'm half, I'm
currently.
half, I'm half Indian, yeah.
Okay. I just talked to someone from India and I talked to someone from India yesterday. Mostly on here. So fun conversations.
Well, yeah, big population. So
It is a big population. World's a
yeah,
big
so it's
population
pretty
now.
statistically likely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So COVID's still pretty rampant over there. It's a big deal. I mean, you guys
Not in this state, but
okay.
in others. not as much in this state, but like I mean, in the last year, I lost like 2 family members. Like it's pretty bad. Like, but that's basically because they weren't prepared at all.
Gotcha.
It was really fucked up, actually. Like, also the government, the elected government, basically knew how bad it was going to be and like didn't do shit about it for political reasons.
So yeah, from over here, I don't know if you were over there when it all went down, or if you were over here, but
I was. Yeah,
you were here or there?
I was in America.
Okay, so yeah, so the coverage of India, I feel like was very, I don't know, it was biased in a very negative way, because they just showed us on the mainstream side of it, like just the worst places that you could have been, where there's just people on top of people and burning bodies outside, and just like this it made India look like a third world country everywhere. And I feel like that was probably not the best representation of the reality of the country.
I mean, at least 60% population wise, at least is a third world country. I mean, at least 60% of people are essentially peasant farmer class and live in rural areas, and don't have access. Like, I mean, they have access to the internet and shit. Like, it's not like they're like, like whatever, but yeah, they're quite poor, and they don't have as much access to to medicine and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, obviously they have access to medicine in the sense of like India is one of the biggest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the world, but like, so they do have access to
They
medicine.
would just be more prone to disease based on their current living conditions, basically.
Well, it was more like there wasn't much medical infrastructure for keeping people who were in critical conditions but weren't necessarily going to die. So like, for example, they didn't have like ventilators, right? Or ventilator capacity. So there was actually a whole thing where like literally the medical oxygen supply, like the supply chains for oxygen fucking failed. And the supply chain for literally the oxygen cylinders, like literally just oxygen, like metal oxygen cylinders failed. So people were driving like hours away to buy oxygen cylinders from the black market to bring back to their home for a family member who couldn't breathe.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild to look back at like the beginning, like first few months, and how much that we realized the World Health Organization and the people in charge just guessed at shit. Like they were just like, we need ventilators. And then like 2 months later, they're like, by the way, that probably wasn't a good idea. Ventilators actually didn't help a lot of people.
I mean, actually, the statistical predictions in the beginning were actually fairly accurate if you see how they played out.
I feel like they just went south so fast. And that, or what they told us was that it wasn't, going well. It was to me, my viewpoint on it was like just epic scare tactics across the globe without a whole lot of information. Like constantly telling us, like we had basically a death ticker everywhere you looked. It's like death numbers just fucking spiraling. And then after a few months, those things started going away, and everyone just kind of went back to what we would consider quasi-normal. Like even right now, they have this new variant out, and they're borderline like, we kind of want to freak out, but we're not going to freak out. And because of the vaccine, and it's not going away. We're not going to eradicate the virus. So it's always going to be another one, another mutation of it. It's just, how deadly is it going to be? Is it really going to be a problem? To me, every disease is a problem to somebody.
Right, I agree with that, but I don't see how that's an argument against mass vaccination, is it?
The reason that people are against the vaccination is because they do not trust the people telling us to get vaccinated. That is the mass reason.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
It's the same people who told us eggs were bad, then eggs were good, and then eggs are bad again. The white's good, the yellow's bad.
But can we agree or disagree that mass vaccination is probably the ideal scenario?
I would say that anything that prevents you from dying or helps your body fight off disease is ideal.
Which would be a vaccine, potentially.
Potentially, right. But the second to that is that The second to
The
that is that we
studies-
don't know full on what the long-term effects of any of this is going to be, because
that's just simply not. I mean, I happen to also be in like the medical sciences or whatever. So
okay,
like I've had actually a lot of arguments about COVID with people online. Like I dispelled a lot of, like, I talked to a lot of people about the ivermectin bullshit when that was around, and like had to, each person you have to go through the fucking meta-analyses with, and like just to be like, for them to be like, oh, okay, there's actually real data, why this is bullshit, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, mRNA technology is not new.
right,
This is not new. This is not new stuff. And there's absolutely no, the thing is like, it's one of those like what ifs where it's like this stuff has been around for like 10, 15 years. And it's like, we know for a fact that it statistically greatly reduces the chances of essentially receiving or dying from a disease that's very prevalent and spreading it as well, right? And there's also minimal evidence or evidence of minimal and sparse side effects compared to the amount of people that have been vaccinated, right?
okay,
So it's not to say that like it doesn't even, depending on whether someone claims, oh, this thing is completely safe or this thing isn't completely safe, or who knows what it could do, even if any of those things are true, which I think some of them are bad arguments, but let's just ignore that, right? Even if we assume that some of those arguments have validity to them, the statistical benefit of the vaccine still outweighs those arguments in terms of getting COVID or having complications from COVID or dying from COVID or spreading it.
okay,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
So it's like, a lot of people have been scaremongering about the whole myocarditis bullshit recently, right? I don't know if you heard about that, but like,
Yeah, I mean, I read some of what's news on it, because to every point there's going to be a counterpoint. I mean, you've got people out there who are fine, got the vaccine, and are definitely not fine now, and then you have people out there who, probably would have died without it, and then you have people who have it and still died from COVID. So
right, but don't you think it's a false equivalency though? Because there's a statistical difference between those groups of people.
Right. The problem is, it's not the problem isn't in the math. The problem is in the portrayal of the math and what they put in front of you and the mass amount of people, which is why we have people who are like, I'm never getting that shot. I don't trust nobody, whatever, because they've seen something constantly in their face that they're like, I'm not getting that. But if all you saw was like, you know what, this dude was not doing good, he got a shot, he's doing better, everyone's doing better, people aren't dying, you're like, yeah, all right, we're going to get that. But that's not the world we live in. Is filled with, if you look hard enough, you'll find validation to anything that you can think of. Like, period. There's somebody out there who's got 7 views who's telling you like what you thought is correct. And
Sure, yeah.
I mean, across the board, there's been like 4 billion shots or something administered. I mean, it's a lot. A lot of people have been vaccinated, and they're going to keep pumping them full of them because there's going to be a booster for years to come. They're going to keep doing it because COVID's not going away. And I
Right.
feel like from the beginning, that should have been the narrative. The narrative should have been, we've got this virus. It's bad. It's going to kill a lot of people. We need to figure out a solution. But also, people need to understand that viruses don't just disappear. In human history, there's only been 2 viruses eradicated from Earth. Ever. And only one of them people really even know about. The other one, I couldn't tell you what it is. It's like, it's mostly in animals. But we've never gotten rid of them completely. They don't go away. They might not just be, we might have better defenses against them because over time, people have been vaccinated and they've been able to fight them off. But COVID's going to be around for a while in some form.
Right. So the term for that is like endemic, right?
Okay.
Like it'll become endemic.
Okay.
So like
right.
I don't disagree with your point that like, and obviously there's like, this is somewhat of an opinionated thing or whatever it is, like it's less objective or whatever, but like I don't disagree that like in certain ways media messaging hasn't been ideal. I mean, see the thing, like I'm especially like cable news and whatnot in the US, like I think is generally pretty terrible. all around. I
Right.
mean, and that the thing is though, on the flip side though, I don't like making that argument all the time because people losing trust in media in general also tends to lead to really bad outcomes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like there is factual media out there. And if you just say that all media is bullshit, then that is actually kind of worse in some ways. So, you know, it's complicated. It's more like I would just say try and seek out like media sources, like not alternative media, but like media that you know that like you'll acknowledge most media probably might have a political bias or is incentivized in some way or another, but media that you can reasonably assume that's factual enough or is factual in the sense that you need it to be. Like
Right.
in the sense of like, you know, I don't know how you lean politically or whatever, but like if you go to the New York Times, right? If you go to the op-eds and the opinion columns, you know, if you're a conservative, you might not agree with most of the stuff there, but like you can at least assume that like the New York Times isn't going to be faking numbers on like COVID deaths, right? Like I would consider that
We hope not.
to be a sure, but I mean, I'm saying compared to any other or most other news sources, like that's just a random example, but like
Right.
I would consider them reputable enough to be like, okay, for basic and objective facts like this, like they're not just going to be like fudging the numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess like I am definitely skeptical of media, but I think having that as a mass message can be somewhat dangerous on the other hand, because people not listening to media at all can just lead them to their own conclusions, or like you say, lead them to some dumb fuck with 7 views telling them about how the vaccine will microchip them and like, you know, or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, any dumb conclusion doesn't have to do with the vaccine. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's complicated there. And then fuck, I forget what I was going to say after this. I'm too intoxicated.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think I was going to say about it becoming endemic. I will say, like, not necessarily, I'm not saying to the credit of the WHO, but at the time it wasn't actually not known whether it would be endemic or not. And they didn't necessarily want to scare people, so it did somewhat make sense to not say that it would become endemic. And also, if you do look at the projected death toll, it was actually relatively accurate for the data that they had at the time.
Okay.
And I mean, you can argue that they used scare tactics in a way that was ineffective, et cetera, and like that's an argument that could be made. But in terms of the pure data that they put out, I would say it was fairly accurate. Now, the portrayal of that data and the messaging that follows, you could have a problem with, sure. But I would say generally, as scientists, they did their job relatively well. That would be my point.
Okay. I think we would respond better. I think in this country we would respond better if they just removed Fauci. If they put a different person in his place to give us the information. I think people really, really dislike him, do not trust him.
The people on the right. Yeah.
I think it's just a lot of people. I mean, even if let's say it's just the people on the right, that's 80 million people. I mean, it's like half the country. So
right, but my point in that was not necessarily to shit on the right. My point in that was that it became politicized.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
Like you could argue that people primarily on the right are the ones who don't like Fauci, right?
Yeah, you could argue that if you want to put it that. That's why I'm saying, like, even take the political side out of it and just replace the person with somebody who we either do not know at all, that is can be the face to tell us what we need to know, or somebody that is more liked by both sides to go, all right, well, this is what we need. We need somebody out here who goes, okay, let's do this. This is better. We don't like it, man. Fauci comes up there, opens his mouth, and half our country's like, man, that guy, like, I don't believe you. And then if we had somebody, if they go, look, Fauci's out, we've got this guy in, he's got a background in whatever, bioscience, technology, viruses, whatever. And he comes out and goes, we don't know him, and goes, listen, Fauci said this stuff. This is the real deal. He could say the exact same thing out of a different mouth, and people are going to line up, and they're going to convert more people into getting it, because people from the beginning just did not trust him. Because, and in reality, I would say that the government and scientists had to scramble to give people an answer, and if they're wrong because they didn't have the amount of time necessary to determine the right answer, but they got close, you're going to get picked apart for getting close. And now we have a distrust. And now we have like, well, is this right? Is that not right? Is it okay? I mean, I feel like a lot of the implemented policies and practices in our country were all just smoke and mirrors. It was just a show to make you feel better.
So I'm not necessarily defending him or not defending him, but I would say, so to clarify your argument, you're saying it's not necessarily Fauci as a guy that made him inherently distrustful. It was the fact that since data could have been somewhat inaccurate or somewhat misleading in the beginning, and he was the one delivering that message, that made people distrust him.
Definitely that, and definitely his ties to the Wuhan area, and just like
well, to be fair, the Wuhan Institute of Virology is one of the most prestigious in the world.
Right, but when they're, it's just the background and the way that he's portrayed, he's a bad guy at this point. Dr. Fauci, if we were making a movie, he's creating a villain. In our narrative, that's where we're at in our society. Is a lot of people are going to think that guy's over there building Frankenstein somehow. So I think if you replaced him with somebody else, you could give us the same information, but we would accept it differently.
Sure. I mean, I think maybe to an extent. I mean, I think. I mean,
it's a very
complicated.
It's a very deep, complicated topic, because we look at, when I say like we implement a lot of things that are just dumb, right? Like I still go to stores that have a piece of 2-foot plexiglass between me and the cashier that does fucking nothing, right? It's just a smoke and mirror show. But now everywhere you go, there's now a piece of plexiglass for just this. It doesn't cover behind the person, to the side of the person, anywhere around the person. It's just so that I cannot directly sneeze in your face. But the person behind you can sneeze on you.
To be fair, if you want me to play devil's advocate, like that can often like lead to the psychological comfort of the employees. To be fair,
right. So it is, but like I said, it's a smoke and mirror show, is what it is. It's just a facade. It's not. It's to make you feel better. The TSA?
So is the I mean, both by studies and in reality. Like,
I mean, someone in Atlanta had a gun in their luggage that went off in the airport. Like, what?
Right. So, but that's what I'm saying is we have quite a lot. If you want to take that route of argumentation, we have quite a lot of quote unquote smoke and mirror shows.
We do have a lot of things that are put there, but I feel like it's put there to make. How do you say this without being like sounding mean? It's made to make dumb people feel safe.
You can sound mean. Okay.
Like, I don't want to try to offend people, but like it's some people out there going, all right, well, when I go to Publix and there's an arrow on the floor and it says you have to walk one way down the aisle, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. This makes no sense.
You can sound mean. Listen, I grew up on 4chan, all right?
The virus doesn't care which direction I go down the spaghetti aisle. Yeah, but the people they won't come in contact. Well, no, I'm going to pass Grandma because Grandma's in the way. Grandma's in the way if we're going the same direction. This is all, some of this stuff, it doesn't make sense. And then, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who looked at the safety precautions that they put in place and went, we had a keypad at the register. We touch our PIN number in. They put a piece of plastic over it. They don't clean the plastic. What the fuck's the difference? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I do think a lot of it is psychological stuff, and like I could give another example. It's like I remember during the height of COVID in Massachusetts, like I remember being, I mean, I pretty much always wear my mask everywhere, like where I should wear my mask, obviously.
How
but
often do you wash the mask? Or is it a disposable mask?
it was disposable, but that's still somewhat irrelevant.
Like if you had a cloth mask, how often do you wash the mask?
I don't see why that matters. The whole point is how much essentially aerosol dispersion there is. So washing it, I mean, maybe you could say that that's gross on a personal level, but I
Yeah,
don't think
well,
that
yeah. I
would
mean, that's what
affect
I'm
COVID.
saying. If you're sitting there on aside from COVID, because it's not stopping you from, probably contracting COVID or whatever, but I feel like humans are not
Well, the
meant to
idea
breathe in the
is
same bacteria right here for 8 hours a day at work. Like it cannot be
well,
healthy for you.
But the thing is even if we grant that to be true, right? Which is an if, right? You
Okay.
agree. Even if we grant that to be true, once again, essentially the risk of fucking dying or contracting COVID health-wise is a lot worse than that, right? I hope we could agree on that.
I don't.
And also the point
Maybe
the
I
point
don't
of
know that the
masks
mask
as
thing really stopped
well.
it that much. I'm not a
Well,
believer that everyone wearing a mask.
to be fair, I think
stopped it.
I think I can probably give you data that shows, especially in a lot of countries, that mask usage, and especially high density areas, has like decreased transmission quite a bit. But also, you're also missing a picture of the piece of the puzzle, which is it's also not just purely about transmissibility, but also about viral load, right?
Okay.
So it actually, like, I can still contract COVID, but if there's a lot more particles, if someone's literally coughing right directly into my mouth
Mm-hmm.
versus through, assuming that it would get through your mask or whatever it is,
Right.
like you don't have a proper respirator and whatever it is, assuming it'll get through your mask or whatever, a lot less of those particles actually essentially get inside of you.
Right.
And there's plenty of data to show that increased viral load leads to much more increased lethality.
Right. I mean, it'd be like you have an army of 1,000 people and 6 people come attack you. That's not a big deal.
Right.
But if 5,000 come attack you, it's kind of a problem.
Exactly.
Right? You're gonna have a
So
harder
it's
time.
not purely about transmission. It also is about viral load.
Okay.
But what I was gonna say is, like, there are absolutely situations where, I mean, I say as a scientist, but as I mean, I guess I'm technically a scientist. As a scientist, like when I was walking in the graveyard with my fiance, like, I thought it was fucking stupid that, like, other people. I mean, I didn't necessarily judge them for it, but I thought it was stupid that, like, essentially no one in this large graveyard. It's like a very large kind of parky kind of graveyard, and like
Right.
people are way far apart, and they're just still like walking in open air, like wearing masks, and it's like. And there were 1 or 2 signs, like, like you have to wear your mask in the graveyard or whatever. And it's like, I get that, but it's like, I mean, I also was doing LSD at the time, so I was also like, I don't even want to wear the mask. But like, it was
you got
like,
your own medication over there to deal with COVID. I see.
Well, I synthesize some interesting things. Let's just say. Not LSD, because the synthesis is very complicated, but
okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know about COVID, but DMT is amazing. It's I fought COVID in real life.
It actually is quite nice. There's some tree bark you can buy from Mexico that you can extract it from, and you can also synthesize it, which I've done both. Yeah, I actually gave it to a guy with terminal cancer, and like it greatly improved his like mental health.
I believe that.
No shit. Like I mean, I read the papers and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not a huge believer.
How do you feel about someone's mental health and the impact on their physical well-being and their ability to fight off disease? You think it plays a big role in it? For any disease, for anything, whether it's just you not feeling well, or you being sick, or you having something that could be more serious on the terminal side, like. When you're depressed and you don't feel well and your mental health is not good, your body does not respond positively to anything inside of it. I feel like it's.
Well, so I would say that that's kind of looking at it the wrong way, in the sense of depression is actually technically like a physical ailment. like it's often accompanied by like the lack of neurogenesis or beating enough production in the brain, right? Like it's essentially like your brain is not, growing or adapting or as neuroplastic as it should be. It's not this old early 80s, early 90s, late 80s idea of like, you don't have enough serotonin. Like that's not true. Like it really is more about like adaptability and like neurogenesis, like has been shown in the last couple of decades. So like what I would say is like there could potentially be downstream effects or with the rest of your body, or also like associative effects in the sense of like, let's say your diet is fucking terrible, right?
Right.
And your brain is suffering as a result of that, and you might be depressed, but also other downstream effects of your diet being fucking terrible might be reduced immune system functioning. So like I would say that there might be an association between depression and, let's say, reduced immune system functioning. But is there evidence for depression directly causing reduced immune system functioning? I'm not sure about that,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I follow you. On that. I'm just curious, like, because people that get in a mental state tend to you just end up, going down a downward spiral. You just make bad life decisions. You make choices that aren't good. You eat bad. It's a deep rabbit hole that you get into because your gut biome is very important, and you start eating crap food, then you feel worse about it. And, one thing that definitely alters that state, like if you get up and go to the gym, you don't want to go, just go and you start moving stuff around, start lifting shit and start doing exercising. You feel better for a little bit, or if there's things that you can do in life that just change your mindset and it alters it. You might not, it's not going to cure depression, but it takes your brain and your body goes, hey, I don't have to feel this way right now. I got other stuff to worry about. And if you can just keep doing things that put you on that path, perhaps eventually your depression just kind of goes to the wayside. You're too busy. You're happy doing other things. You feel better. I mean, a lot of people have experienced that. I've experienced it. It's like, what? Going to the gym, I don't want to go. But once I go there and I start doing stuff, moving shit around, I'm like, you know what? I don't have time to think about how sad I was. I'm just fucking lifting weights.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely like there's obviously like physiological benefits of exercise and all that stuff, but you're right in the sense of like I think there are psychological benefits as well, and also the two are obviously intertwined. But like, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I can say like anecdotally, like I'm very severely depressed and always have been for the most of my life.
Okay.
So like I kind of have experienced some of this stuff, and like some shit happened recently where I've been very, very depressed because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that I've experienced much the same, and whether it's financial struggles or the feeling that you're not doing good enough, or you're failing, or whatever the case, it's always there's something around the corner. And then the thing that pulls me kind of out of it is like, well, that was yesterday. Today we have an opportunity to do something different. And for me, it's like if it's a financial thing, I've made a lot of money in a short amount of time before, and I've lost a lot of money in a very short amount of time. And the feeling that you have when you make it is amazing. And when you lose it, you'd rather just slit your wrist. I mean, you feel terrible. And that goes along to a lot of different degrees of life. And, the only thing that keeps you going is going, well, tomorrow's a new day. I don't have to do this. I can do something else. When we get stuck thinking you can't do something else, that's when you're really in trouble. When you're surrounded, or you're not surrounded by anybody, you have no one around you that goes, hey man, you're gonna be all right. You know what? Let's get up and go do something. You're gonna be okay. This is just, you'll bounce back. But some people don't have that in their life. Some people spend a lot of their time alone, or they're surrounded by other people who are also depressed, So I spend a lot of my time alone, and those are the days where you're like, fuck, I don't want to do nothing. And there's nobody there to go, hey man, we need to go do something. Like, this isn't good for you. If you're right.
I mean,
you
I,
need to do
yeah, I,
something.
I definitely like had the issue. I mean, like I've always been like whatever clinically diagnosed with like major depressive disorder or whatever bullshit, right? And I've been on or tried a bunch of antidepressants and it never really worked. But the thing is like what helped was like being with my fiance because like I don't know, she was like my best friend and
Right.
like motivated me to do a lot of stuff and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the
Um,
same way. I have a person in my life that's like that. It's like, you know, when you're around, like things are better. When that person's around, things are better. You feel like, okay, not everything is fucked. You're here and
yeah,
we can figure it out. And when you're there by yourself, dude, sometimes the stress of the world, you're like, I would wake up when I ran my other business and I would think of for a while I had like 4 or 5 employees. Post COVID, it was just me. I worked by myself for like over a year, and the amount of stress and weight on me. Sometimes I would wake up in the morning and what would go through my head is every single thing that I had to do, every person that was waiting on something, that was upset with me, that I needed to call, every bill, like it all went through my brain like at rapid pace. The second I woke up, and it would paralyze you. You're like, I don't even know where to start right now. I don't have anybody when I get to the office. I don't have anybody to go, all right, John, I need you to do this. And I need you to do this. And I need this person to do that. You get there and you're like, I don't even know where to begin right now. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then you don't do anything and it buries you. But when you have someone around in your life that you're like, hey, I know you can't fix the problem, but I need you to just be there and let me know it's going to
yeah,
be
them
all right.
being there helps. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's huge.
unfortunately, I'm now in like the position of having to do that myself because, well, basically she passed away in August,
That
unfortunately.
sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You guys are young.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, she was a bit older than me, but yeah. And I have to deal with like being addicted to drugs, so that's cool.
That's one way of putting it. I
Yeah.
gotta deal with it. You know how I dealt with it when I got divorced? I was with her for 12 years and we had 2 kids and life just wasn't, I mean, we weren't like it was a bad relationship. It was just okay. And we just grew apart. And, you know, leaving was upsetting. And I dealt with it by I went and did stand-up comedy. I had never done it before. And I just,
My girlfriend used to do stand up.
yeah, I just went and I was like, you know what? It's hard to be sad around a bunch of funny people. Like, even if they're not funny, you know, they want to be funny. And you're like, sucks to bomb. And I would just hang out at open mics. And, you know, sometimes you would get to go up if there was, you know, if you got up, didn't have enough time, you got on the list or whatever. And I spent a lot of time at open mics and I talked to some people. But when I first started going, you know, I didn't know anybody and it's a very niche community. And I just kind of hung out and I would try to talk to some people. But at the same time, like I didn't want to be at home. So my problem was is that I lived with her for like my entire adult life. And then I moved out into a house and I got nothing in my house. My kids aren't here 90% of the time. I went to work and I did not want to go home. Like I was like, I don't want to be here. There's nothing here for me.
Yeah, there isn't shit. Yeah.
You know, so I just went and surrounded myself with people that I did. And, you know, I told myself, I listened to a lot of David Goggins and Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink, and I put it on repeat. And I got up and I made myself go to the gym every morning and I started a routine. Even if I didn't want to go, I'm like, I'm going to go. Even if I don't lift anything, I will sit there and I will feel dumb for being here, but I'll do it every day. And I went every day and I met, you know, new people. I talked to some people occasionally. And then, you know, through that, I've made a couple new friends from that life. And it was just like, you just gotta tell yourself like, this is temporary and I can do something about it. It's not going to be overnight, but that was how I dealt with it. And not everyone can do that, you know. And the girl that I met, she takes antidepressant pills. And she told me when I met her, she was like, oh, if I don't take these, like, you know, I'll turn into an absolute bitch and I'm depressed and I'm a fucking nightmare. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I don't know you outside of you're on them. Maybe you don't take them. maybe you're okay. I don't know. Well, other people called me crazy. I'm like, I'm not other people. Like, maybe other people were assholes. I don't know. I don't know what you need. I know that we're happy most of the time, so that's good. I try to stay positive. I don't really get mad or angry. Sometimes I get upset thinking about stuff, but you know, that's life. You can't, I feel like you cannot be happy in life without also being sad. You have to experience both things. And the sad part sucks. Like, no one wants to be around someone who's sad or upset. But also, like, if you don't experience it, and that was what I had in my marriage, like, we never really got mad at each other. We never got upset with each other. But we were also never really, like, really happy. We were just okay all the time. It was just okay.
Yep.
And that wasn't...
Yeah, that's always my thing is like, it's not extreme sadness, but like anhedonia.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like, the world is over, I can't go on. But, you know, at some point, you got to be, like, empathetic to people. And you just got to realize, like, some things suck. All right, well, that sucks. And then the things that don't suck will feel so much better. And you'll feel so much more accomplished, you know. And it's tough to get yourself out of a hole and pull yourself out of it. It's very difficult. And I didn't use Omegle before. I would just do a podcast by myself on YouTube, honestly. And then I'd have some people join in that would join my chat, and I would talk to them just middle of the night, just whatever. It felt like at least I was putting it out there without judgment. Yeah, you don't care. Some people, it's a hard time opening up to people. And they, you know, no one ever sees the struggles. You see people who are successful and who are happy on fucking the internet, but nobody sees.
TV, I get it.
No one sees all the shit they ate for most of their life to get there. That's the reality of it. You know, like, you got someone like Pete Davidson, who always seems happy, who suffers with severe depression all the time. Who, if he doesn't do his routine in the morning, he might kill himself every day. You're like, what?
Yeah,
that's real. That's the real world. That's not the Instagram world that we see. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's like all the activities that like I do both for fun and for like work/school, like, genuinely, like, I was more like in a numerical sense, I was more productive, and in an emotional sense, I was happier on opiates.
Okay.
So like, which is somewhat ironic that like it kind of made me more productive because I was less depressed, but it's not really like sustainable, or like it's somewhat sustainable, but like then you have to keep taking it to not be sick, and you know, being sick is fucking terrible.
Right.
And then once you get, like, I haven't taken opiates since August, actually, because that's how she overdosed on fentanyl, actually. But the thing is once you get sober, it's like, I mean, withdrawal and all that kind of stuff like really sucks. And I happen to be doing like these really potent, like actually more potent than fentanyl, like these really potent synthetics that like are very economical and whatnot, but like, you know, all in all, and don't show up on drug tests, which is a big thing for me, because you know, like university, you know, like and work and all that kind of stuff, but are quite nasty though, like to get off of.
Right.
And it's like thing about getting sober is like, you know, like I used Suboxone and all that kind of stuff to taper off of and kind of get through the withdrawal, so it wasn't like, you know, like unbearable or whatever. But once you get past that point, it's like being sober every day is like, yeah, it's you know, you have obviously a lot of cravings and that goes away over time, and you're somewhat depressed and like bored and anhedonic. But like the biggest thing is like, even when a lot of the cravings go away, like being sober is fucking boring. It's so like mind-numbingly boring that it's like, God, I just want to go do heroin. Like, or like, I mean, what I would like, I mean, I've smoked weed like most days for the last couple of years, and it's like, I mean, if I had the choice right now, I would just smoke weed like most of the day and not do opiates or whatever. Unfortunately, where I am right now, I don't really have access to weed consistently or any good weed. But like, it's just like The hardest part is dealing with the fucking boredom, I swear to God.
Well, boredom isn't a subsequent what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not a result of being sober. It's a result of being bored. Like,
well, the thing is though, is it's also a result of like getting off the drug, because it's like
yeah, but you could
it's
be on
kinda like
drugs doing absolutely nothing and experience a different world than being sober, right? Like, if you were on drugs in a room with almost nothing to do, would you be more entertained mentally than sober? Like, your brain's going to check out and go to a different place. Everything's different now, right? Because you're high as
it's
fuck.
not so much entertained, I guess, but I mean, I guess so. It's more just like anything that I did normally, like you know, I don't know, mostly reading, but like reading papers, like research, like programming, like anything like that was just more interesting and whatnot on opiates. And also like the anxiety and depression relief was fucking great, because it's like you just get this sense of like contentedness, like
Right.
everything's okay.
Okay.
And it's like, and it's hard to like I mean, I actually did like really I like tried all the hard drugs like when I was young, like quite young, like when I was like 15 or 16. Like when I was 16, I tried coke, meth, and heroin. And I didn't actually get addicted to any of them, funnily enough. Like, for example, I don't even like stimulants, and for example, I really hate coke. Like, this for a lot of reasons, but I think it's a shit drug. And like meth was okay, but I already had ADHD stimulants, and I didn't. It just didn't appeal to me. Like, I don't like being up all the time, so it's like whatever. And then I didn't like opiates at the time because they made me feel sick, and it just wasn't really my thing. Like, I just pretty much stuck to pot and psychedelics like for a long time. But it's like when I get to a point where I was like really suicidal, like I'd already tried to kill myself like a couple times and shit like that. And I started doing opiates like somewhat. I was like, oh, I actually feel okay now. And it's like getting a taste of like feeling okay and then getting off it and then being like, you can never have that again, or like you can't have that consistently in your life, is really shitty.
But do you think like, that's because your brain wanted something from it that you can't get naturally, or do you think it's just a mental state that it puts you in? I mean, like, what would cause that?
I think it's a combination of the two, to be honest, because there definitely is euphoria that's like you wouldn't get normally, but is definitely very desirable.
Who's the guy from Vice that did the show about
Hamilton
drugs?
Morris?
Yeah, Hamilton Morris, and how basically you can do any drug in moderation is okay.
Yeah,
and the problem is that people do not understand moderation. They're buying stuff and they're just like, fucking send it. And then they
people don't. Yeah, I always would do meticulous research and all this stuff.
Right.
Funnily enough, I've actually had correspondence with Hamilton Morris, believe it or not.
I would believe that.
Side note, I like the guy a lot.
Hamilton Morris isn't like Barack Obama or some shit. I mean, it's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's just a dude in a space that you're familiar with.
Yeah. So I talked to.
Unique.
I'm just saying it's a funny coincidence that you bring it up. I guess
he comes to mind because of someone who has done almost all of the drugs, and
I've done almost all the drugs,
and he's not, he's not addicted to them, and he has done them in a capacity of which he can come and say, this is the effects that they had on your body. Or I think we're not that far away, probably 10 to 15 years away of microdosing in a lot of different drugs that are currently not acceptable. I think we're going to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I just saw an article.
Not just microdosing, but I don't say macrodosing, but just normal doses as well.
I'm going to start off with microdosing as a safe bet because America is an excessive country for sure. They're like, take how many Advil? 2. Fuck that. I got a headache. I need 7. How many are in there? Give me all of the Advil. Like if two helps, all of them's got to be great. We like excess. Everything's got to be bigger and better. So, but I did see an article. I remember what state it was. I want to say Michigan. I could be wrong. Where they are now having supervised drug injections of heroin for drug addicts. They're administering
Yeah,
actual illicit drugs to people now under supervision. You're
they've
like,
had that
wow.
in, for example, Copenhagen for like a decade.
Yeah, so it's evolving, and now we have, you know, obviously marijuana has grown quite significantly in this country and worldwide, and I think we're gonna have this. Like mushrooms are gonna be more available. I think that's the next
They've been
one.
decriminalized in 3
Yeah.
different
I think
cities.
that's the next logical one. You're like, all right, if it just grows outside, and we can just go eat it, it's okay. Just let them eat it.
That's
It's okay.
I honestly really dislike that line of logic though, in one sense though, because
There's not a lot of
and
shit
I
out
maybe
there that come on. There's not a lot
well
of stuff out there you just can't grow
well,
naturally. You go eat it and die.
what my only point though is like take LSD versus mushrooms, right? They both hit the exact same receptor. So, but then why should one be illegal and one not be illegal?
The reason
Like
being
that
is that
makes
if a human manufactures it and it's not regulated, then anything could be in it. There's our problem. That's like the main
right.
issue.
So I agree with that, but the thing is like if you grow weed, you can still spray synthetic cannabinoids on it. You can still spray it with pesticides. Or in the same vein, also by the way, like
I don't know
LSD
that they're even really worried about
is
pesticides. They're worried about lacing it with other
well the
shit.
yeah, that's what spraying
You
it with
know.
synthetic cannabinoids is
Yeah.
actually common in a lot of countries. Like if you go to Central Europe, that's somewhat common because they don't have that much of a weed supply, but they have a huge demand. And sometimes some of these noids can be more addictive than weed itself. So sometimes people will ask for the stronger shit and get the laced weed and then want to go back for it. Like
Yeah, I think
And-
that's my main take on it is every drug. People look, man, people function on crazy amounts of drugs all the time. You would not believe. There's one guy that was
the
even on
food service
Rogan.
industry.
Yeah, right. Everyone in restaurants.
Yeah.
But there was a guy that was on Rogan. They talked about him. He's a professor at Columbia that just regularly
Dr.
does.
Carl Hart.
Yeah, regularly does. Is it heroin that he does? He does a pretty hard
He-
drug regularly.
I believe what you're talking about is I think he did a trial with heroin where he got himself addicted to it and then got off of it to show that it's not a huge deal.
No, he did it
I'm not
for
sure
a
if he.
long
I'm not
time.
sure if he. I'm not sure if he does it regularly. I might be thinking of it. Might be a different drug. I'm not sure, but he did the heroin thing with Hart was famous though.
Yeah, he does it. He said it. I pulled the article right here because it was for a long time. He was doing
it
low
sounds funny,
doses
but
of the stimulant. He said he
Oh yeah, it
used
could be.
he used heroin regularly for the last 4 years, and describes the time he took morphine daily for 3 weeks in order to experience withdrawal. So for 4
Yeah, I can
years, he
believe
did
that.
heroin
Yeah.
regularly as a professor.
I mean, I already believe. Like honestly, it sounds funny, but heroin can be used responsibly. I mean, it sounds like a funny phrase, but it actually is
I think
true.
it
And
all.
it's
I
like,
think it all can be used responsibly.
yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
it's also like you have to consider how long. I mean, opium has been around essentially in many cultures for essentially ever.
Right.
I mean, the ancient Egyptians smoked opium.
There's a show I used to watch. There was 2 seasons of it called The Nick. Had Clive Owen in it. He was a doctor in early 1900s at the Knickerbocker, and the show was basically
So
about.
they had like laudanum tinctures.
They had well, it was like the Knickerbocker was like the low end hospital that he worked at, but the drug that was prominent in the show was cocaine because they used cocaine to numb people
Right.
and as a sedative and stuff. And he was injecting himself with cocaine. He was addicted to cocaine on the show, and he ended up, a little doses weren't enough anymore, and he started getting to the point where he was just strung the fuck out on cocaine. But to that point, like these drugs have always been around and for a long time were used in a capacity that was not inhibitantly dangerous to people in society. But now we've gotten our hands on stuff and we just take all of it. How much heroin do you need? All of the heroin. And it became an epidemic.
I think it's also like I think you said this earlier, but I think a primary issue for me is one of the reasons why I think legalization is for almost any drug is essentially almost always going to be safer than it being in the black market is just because of regulated production.
Right.
Like I couldn't think of a better example. Well, obviously, like things being cut with fentanyl is a good example, but I think a better example is like, did you ever hear about this whole crocodile like scare story thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
So,
Crocodile.
right. So like people think that it's just this like crazy drug that will like eat your skin and shit
Right.
like that and cause necrosis and cause you need amputations and stuff. And that did happen. And I've actually spoken to a guy who sold it as well, and stuff like that. He was in the Czech Republic and he had some friends in Russia. But the deal with that is like it was actually just desomorphine, which is kind of like you can think of it as it's kind of like heroin but with a shorter duration of action, and it's not as good, but it's basically, you can think of it as just as like kind of like heroin, like it's nothing special, right? But the kicker is like the chemists that were making it, in the final step of the synthesis, they were using red phosphorus as the catalyst and then would not purify it at all. And so people were giving themselves intravenous injections of essentially a mixture containing red phosphorus.
Oh, wow.
Which is really bad,
Yeah.
as you can imagine.
It's really not okay.
Really bad.
Yikes.
Even taking it by mouth, that's really, you don't want to be eating red phosphorus. So it's like, I think that's the perfect example of how the black market can make something that's not that dangerous, like way more dangerous.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and to that point, in every aspect of our world, there is someone who can take something that's completely okay and turn it into the worst thing for you. Like, period. It could be in food, it could be in freaking health, it could be in drugs. I mean, I think Hamilton Morris is the one that said it. Like, yeah, you could overdose on water. You could drink too much water and die.
It's true.
You're like, okay, well, that's something we just, it's unregulated. Buy as much water as you want. But you can actually drink enough to the point where you just die. Because people can do anything. And I'm pretty sure he said that on the podcast. People can do anything to excess. Anything. The problem is that with some of these things, the excess is still a small amount. That's where the problem is with illicit drugs. It's like, well, the excess could be like, well, I did 2 grams of this. That doesn't seem like a lot, but your body doesn't need it. So that's 3,000 times the amount you need it. It's a small amount.
The problem is like, I feel like people feel like, okay, either we need to get rid of, for example, let's take opiates, for example. We either need to get rid of opiates or we need to get rid of opiate addiction, right? And it's like, that's a noble idea, I suppose, but it's like, number one, we're not gonna get rid of opiates. Okay. Right. Number one. I mean, they grow in the fucking wild, right? Number two, we're not gonna get rid of opiate addiction. Like, people are just predisposed to that. I mean,
people are predisposed to addiction. Addiction is not even chemically.
But also for specific drugs as well, though. People are predisposed to addictions with. So if we can necessarily say that we're not going to get rid of opiates, which we're not, right? We can also pretty much confidently say we're not going to get rid of opiate addictions, barring like some magic phosphatidylesterace blocking drug that like somehow doesn't make you addicted to morphine. But like, okay, assuming we don't have sci-fi technology, like we're going to have opiate addictions as well, right?
Right.
So it's like, really, like, how do we reduce the harm from people who are addicted to opiates, and also the opiates that are out there be in a safe and regulated supply? Because the market is demanding this, and whether you like it or not, the demand in the market is going to be filled. And whether that's by regulated pharmaceutical companies or whether that's by cartels is up to government policy.
Right.
Because you have to choose one. Because the demand is still there, right? Like, if we're just going to sit around and act like the demand doesn't exist, then we'd be lying.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So, it's kind of like almost like the lesser of two evils. And it's like, and then beyond that, it's like, yeah, just try to get as many people not addicted as possible, obviously. But people it's still going to exist. Like opiate addiction is a natural phenomenon. Like people are still going to be addicted to opiates just in the same way that people still get cancer. Do you know what I mean? Like, or whatever, or anything.
Right.
Like, or people still die from fucking skydiving or what, like pick anything. Like, it's just how do we reduce the risk of that? Or like, you know, there are certain drugs that help people get off of opiates, like Suboxone or methadone, and like we could subsidize those or whatever it is, right? Like, yeah, so that's just my view on it. Is like you can't win the war on drugs, and you also can't win the war on addiction, to be honest. But I mean, you can reduce the harm of both of those phenomena as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
You know, so I'm not like advocating for opiate addiction, but at the same time, it's like in any population, there's going to be some people that will do too many opiates, just like there's going to be some people who maybe go to the bar too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just natural. And there's also going to be people who can probably do opiates semi-frequently and not have any issues. That may be the minority, but like, you know, it's like anything, like there's gray areas, I suppose. So
Yeah,
or there's
definitely.
a spectrum.
Hmm.
I don't know. So
True.
it's like, but I think the primary claim is like, if it's synthesized on the black market, it's generally going to be more dangerous than the dangerous effects of the drug itself.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
not only is it potentially impure, even if we're granting that it's pure, like let's say cartel meth right now. Cartel meth is actually quite cheap and quite pure, but like these aren't the doses it's being sold in is completely unregulated. You're just getting a shard of meth. You have no idea how much you're doing unless you have a scale and you're weighing it out. There's no instructions that come with it that
Right.
say, hey, maybe you should eat and sleep enough. Like you shouldn't just keep doing this. Or there's no instructions that say like, you know, when you take this intravenously, like don't do it in this certain way or you'll give yourself cotton fever or you'll get an abscess, right? Like there's no education, there's no instruction manual, there's no like this is how you do it more safely,
Right.
you know, or like when you get coke, there's no little thing that says, hey, maybe you should clean your fucking nose after you snort a bunch of coke or else it's actually going to be more damaging to your mucous membranes and your nose is going to be full of shit. Like nobody cleans their fucking nose when it's like you're supposed to do that. People don't know that. Like you just
Yeah,
put some
it's
water
true.
in there.
There's a lot of
Just
you know, there's a lot of stuff people just don't know, and it's bad for people. Look, it's bad for humans.
when I first tried coke, I would get nosebleeds, and then as soon as I started cleaning my nose with saline solution, I never got nosebleeds.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that function every day on cocaine. It was very common
Yeah, and
for
I
a
mean,
long time.
I actually think it's a terrible drug for a lot of reasons, and mostly because of the trade that it funds, but also because it's really terrible for your heart. Like I think amphetamine, like you know, like Adderall or Speed or whatever, and Ritalin are both much better in honestly every way, in my opinion. But you know, if you prefer Coke, like that's your prerogative. You just should know that it makes it very likely that you'll have a heart attack,
Yeah, I could see that.
right? And it's like, okay, you know, people should know, okay, if I want this effect, maybe I should be taking Ritalin and not cocaine, right?
Yeah,
Because
makes
they
sense.
work similarly. It's just one of them doesn't cause heart attacks or like not nearly to the same extent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how DMX just died.
Yeah, man. DMX
He's
taken out.
literally smoked. He literally just smoked too much crack. Had a
Yep.
heart attack.
X gonna give it to him. You know?
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
got
Yeah.
it. Got it. All right. They
Dude,
gave it to him.
my girlfriend was like sad when DMX died. I mean, obviously it is sad, but I thought it was kind of funny.
I know, man. I'm like, dude, have you seen him? Are we surprised? Like, we have this. Some people in culture, we have this like we have a memory of them that never got older. Does that make sense? Like you like
Yeah,
DMX died,
agree.
dude. He was like 25. He had his shirt off. He was rapping. He was barking. You're like, no.
He still
No,
had
have
that.
you
He
seen
still had
him
that
lately?
energy, though.
Yeah,
He
sure
still
he
had that
did.
energy, though. His fucking voice was just fucked up.
Yeah, man, he didn't age well. Life didn't get him, didn't do
Well,
good.
I wonder why.
Man.
He didn't age well.
A
Yeah.
lot of people. I just saw Michael J. Fox post a picture with him in a book. He's like, my memoirs. I'm like, bro, what happened to you? What? Obviously, Parkinson's happened, but still, like,
To be honest though, like, yeah, there are plenty of celebrities that like have had cocaine addictions, but like, how many celebrities do you not know about that probably have used a lot of cocaine over the course of their life that have lived perfectly normal lives?
yeah, no, there's a lot of them that probably,
Right?
like a
I mean,
lot.
probably most celebrities probably use cocaine, at some point, and maybe even have a continual relationship with it.
Yeah.
And you only ever hear about the extreme cases because no one's advertising the fact that they do coke.
Like Russell
Right?
Brand has got to be on that list. For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Well,
You
he's
know.
a special case. He's done enough psychedelics to be enlightened.
He's elevated. He's not an amateur. He's not a professional. He's God level.
I think I think he's a nice guy, but I don't like it. I don't agree with his opinions.
Yeah, no, he's out there with some stuff that he talks that you're like, whatever.
And
like,
I mean, listen, I've done quite a lot of psychedelics, but I consider myself to be somewhat sane.
That's fair.
I mean, I've done a lot of like really obscure designer psychedelics and shit like that.
Well, I don't have access to all of that around me, so I honestly,
You do.
I
The internet, baby. I'm joking, but I'm not.
Oh man, I've
You can
only
really
ever
buy a
done,
lot on the internet.
I've only ever really done like weed related items, and it just put me to sleep, so it wasn't really exciting. I was like, well, I'm gonna retire.
If you want a genuine recommendation, is like actually I would say like do a little bit of research and do mushrooms. Like I actually mean it.
I would be interested in microdosing mushrooms. I would be interested in that.
Not in microdosing.
You're
No,
like,
I'm talking.
the only problem I have
but
with them is I
I'm
do not actually like mushrooms, like as a food.
Oh, what?
I don't like mushrooms. I'm like, I don't want to eat fungus. It's fucking gross. They're like,
Well-
you can't
well,
taste
did
it.
you
I'm
kn-
like, then get it off my pizza. I don't want it on there.
There actually is basically you can buy this powder that's legal called 4-acetoxy-DMT that metabolizes to the same active metabolite that mushrooms do. So it has the same effect physically, like literally the exact same effect, but it's cheaper and it's legal and it's a powder, so you can just put it in capsules.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, and it's just made in a lab. Yeah, and that's what they do use in human trials because it's cheaper to make than actually growing mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can buy it from the Dutch. Yeah.
How about it? Man. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I'm
also
getting yelled at
cheaper.
by the damn dog over here, so I should probably
Yeah.
go let him
I'm gonna
out.
go
But
get some
this
whiskey,
was a
so-
fun conversation, man. I'm glad you hung out.
Yeah.
We talked about it. It was enlightening. I learned some stuff, and
For
it was
sure.
fun.
By the way, I have to make the disclaimer. I'm sorry, but I do read a lot of Marx. Okay, bye.
See ya. All right, that was fun. If you check that out, I appreciate you hanging out with me as usual. And that was weird. It's like my press. I'm gonna go. I got more stuff to do. It's only 3 o'clock. We'll see you guys here in a little bit.